Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us, an NSA whistleblower who was just fantastic the other night on Hannity. I've seen him before. He was very highly placed at the NSA, and he has had some interesting insights into this question of surveillance and the WikiLeaks document dump. Clearly, the CIA has a little bit of trouble safeguarding its own secrets into how it hacks into devices and can get around any type of encryption and how it goes about doing this. And we now know that anywhere between 200 and 1,000 people could have had access to these various hacking programs that were being used by the CIA and other intel agencies. 1,000 people. They're going to have to interview a lot of people to figure out who gave that information, I guess. And joining us now is William Binney. William, good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
So what do you think the biggest misconception is about these, and I've had a chance to look over some of these WikiLeaks documents, but what do you think the public's biggest misconception is about the surveillance state? Some people call the thing deep state, all the different intel agencies, and they're very powerful and so forth. But I think most people just think, well, they gather information on the bad guys, and when they have to go after the bad guys who are foreign agents or what have you, well, they have tools for doing so. Is that accurate?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, from my perspective, the biggest misconception everybody in the country has is this doesn't really affect them, and if they're not doing anything wrong, they have nothing to fear. Those are the greatest problems people have with this. They just don't understand what's going on. What it means simply is, if you're a member of the Tea Party or a religious group trying to get politically active, or the Occupy group, or you're Jim Rosen, the Associated Press, or any number of other journalists around the country trying to do investigative reporting, you may think this isn't affecting you, but they're watching everything you do. And if you start doing something they don't like, they're going to come after you like they did with Joe Naccio for Quest because he refused to cooperate without a signed warrant from a judge, or they'll go after you like Elliot Spitzer because he was going after the bankers for defrauding everybody. Anything you do that they don't like, they're going to come after you. And they've got the data to do it.
That sounds so conspiratorial and black helicopters to a lot of folks, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure it does, but that's the reality of what's going on, you know.
Yesterday, when I was on Special Report, Charles Krauthammer said, well, if this is being abused, because Andy Napolitano and I were on the same page on the surveillance state that we've created, he said, well, if there's all this abuse of people's personal information and communications, why haven't we seen a single example of an American citizen having his or her private communications used against him or her for no real reason?
Oh, you mean like General Flynn or even the current president, Trump? Or for example, we had evidence from the affidavit. It took us 5 years to get the affidavit they used against us, but when we got it, we found that they had a warrantless wiretap on us. So, I mean, and of course Jim Risen had all his records too, and they were threatening with the grand jury and so on. So, how many people does it take?
Risen meaning is that the New York Times writer?
Yes.
Yeah. Explain that, because some of our folks aren't familiar with that case.
Well, he wrote a book that included some of the attempts to subvert the nuclear development in Iran, and that was operated by CIA, I think it was. And
was that the Stuxnet virus?
No, this was before that. They were actually feeding them information to try to implant incorrect data in their program, so that they would mess up and not be able to develop, their nuclear program. So, but that was stupid because they gave them most of the data they gave them was correct, and spotting the problems were easy, and that's what they did. So they basically effectively advanced it, and they didn't like that Jim Risen had published that, and so they were after him to get his source, and he wouldn't give it to them. So, and they were threatening him with the grand jury, and it's just a police state stuff. When you marry the intelligence agencies, the secret intelligence agencies, with the police, which is what they're doing, you end up with a police state and a secret police, and that's exactly what we've got.
The FISA court, every time the FISA court is invoked, I think people get a false sense that the FISA court is a check on the overzealous prosecutorial instincts of the federal government. But in reality, the FISA court is quite obviously it's very secretive. And does it really operate as much of a check? I mean, I don't know how many requests for wiretap they turned down.
Well, shortly after the Snowden material started to come out, especially with the general warrant the FISA court issued for Verizon's record on 110-plus million U.S. citizens without probable cause on anybody, after that came out, the former head judge of the FISA court, Judge Reggie Walton, came on, and I think it was on CNN, gave an interview where he said, the FISA court really has a very limited capacity to verify or validate what any of the intelligence agencies are telling them. In fact, they don't have a limited capacity. They've got no capacity whatsoever. All they can do is say, I need more detail here, or I need you to dot this I, cross that T, or fill out this form, and that's all. They can't contest any of the data they're using as justification for doing the warrant.
Explain
it's no oversight at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a joke.
Explain is it the warehouse that they're building? I shouldn't say warehouse, but the massive facility. There are two facilities. Aren't they building one out in Utah, and then they're building out the Maryland facility as well? Huge expansion.
The one in Utah is a 1 million square foot storage facility for data, and that one's been finished for a couple of years now. And so they broke ground in the summer of last year here on Fort Meade for a 2.8 million square foot facility. That's about 3 times the size. And they took out the 36-hole golf course, Eisenhower Golf Course on Fort Meade to put that building up. So it's 3 times the size of Utah. But I mean, it's consistent with their intention to collect everything. If you collect everything, it's an ever-increasing amount year after year, so you have to keep building bigger and bigger storage facilities. So this is like planning ahead. They're planning ahead like in another 4 years or so. The Utah facility will be full, and now they'll have this facility to start storing data.
How do you consider Julian Assange? Mike Pence yesterday said he should be prosecuted. I obviously I don't like the fact that he's revealing our methods of operation. On the other hand, I like the fact that we do know about what tools could be used to subvert the freedom and liberty of law-abiding Americans.
And in fact that it's happening, yeah. I look at it this way, and it's the same with Edward Snowden. I figured they should be prosecuted, sure. But we shouldn't do this and not prosecute others who have been committing crimes all along. And so I say the law should be applied equally, and it should be done in chronological sequence of the crimes committed. So we have to first start with Bush, Cheney, Hayden, and Tenet, who had originally conspired to subvert all the constitutional things and make secret interpretations and manipulate Congress and the courts to be able to spy on everybody. And that would include all the attorney generals and deputy attorney generals and the leaders in NSA, CIA, and the FBI, and the DOJ who were involved, plus all the members of the White House that were involved in the Bush administration. Then after them, you do the Obama administration, same set of people, and then you start doing people like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden.
No, my question to Republicans is, how do you justify this? I mean, the Democrats, I don't even know what to say about them at this point, but how do Republicans justify the mass expansion of the intelligence, the deep state in America? You justify that at the same time they can't even keep their own secret.
Yeah, that's right.
I just find that ludicrous.
But that is good, isn't it? Otherwise, we'd never know.
But they're the intel guys, William. They're the intel guys, and then some contractor gets all the code names for all the hacking tools, and like what?
Yes, but I think of them now as the Praetorian Guard. They're the ones who are going to determine who the emperor is and what the emperor does, and also what the other people in government do. So, I mean, that's why Senator Schumer told President Trump that he shouldn't go after the IC because they got many ways to get back at you. Well, these are some of them. So this is what concerned me from the very beginning. That's why I got out of NSA, because this is a setup for things like the Stasi and the KGB and MVD and so on did in the Soviet Union and East Germany. I mean, this is standard. I mean, it goes back to even the Praetorian Guard and Julius Caesar.
Oh, we're really going back, but I actually lived in the former Soviet Union for a while, so I was always shocked to find when I got back to the United States, when I'd get communications from my Soviet friends who were hated the Soviet system. They would say, "I was hauled into the KGB for hours after we met at my apartment." I said, "Met at your apartment? I mean, who would have seen us go into the apartment?" They said, "Not only did they see you go into the apartment, but they had a recording." This is back in 1983, William. They had a recording of our conversation. I said, "Well, good thing we were just doing vodka shots back then. It wasn't all that interesting." So that was in the old days of the Soviet Union, but they kept their files. I can tell you that.
Yes, they did.
Where do you think this ends up with someone like Trump who tweeted that statement out? He's getting just destroyed for accusing Obama of wiretapping the campaign. Do you think that there's merit to what Trump said, that it's probably true that, in fact, Obama did know about this surveillance?
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, he knew about the Stellar Wind program and all the surveillance on everybody, not just President Trump, but everybody, all the senators, representatives, judges, generals on the Joint Chiefs. Everybody's monitored. And all that data is being stored, and he knew about that. So does Comey. Comey knows about that, too. He's known about it. That's what the hospital visit to Ashcroft in 2004 was all about. It was all about the Stellar Wind program, the domestic spying program by NSA.
Why do you think Trump kept Comey as FBI director?
I don't really know. I would have. I personally would have gotten rid of him.
I mean, you need a house cleaning. I'm surprised there's not more people like you who are willing to come forward out of the intelligence community to blow whistles on this stuff. If the problem is as pervasive and as, frankly, terrifying to personal liberty as it seems to be, then where are all the other whistleblowers? Why are you standing alone here, other than, we had Snowden the contractor?
Well, I mean, there are a few of us, Kirk Wiebe, Diane Rourke, Tom Drake. There's a few of us, but most of them have been intimidated. And that there's an ongoing intimidation program inside the ICE intelligence community. And, for example, at NSA, this is what I've heard through the grapevine, is that they've set up for several years now, ever since Edward Snowden's material came out, they've set up an internal program that says, see something, say something about your fellow workers. That is exactly what the Stasi did. Yeah.
Yeah, snitches. Well, we had that was done in the Soviet Union as well. The snitch factor.
Also sets up people. If people don't like other people, they say something about them in secret, and cause them a problem.
It's like FBI background checks. When you've just one or two people hit you, you're out of a government job. William Binney, you gave us a lot to think about today. Thank you so much for your insights on this, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon. We'll take a break and close out this hour. Don't go away.